What's happening, party people? Yes, it's me with some live streaming here. Oh man, fix my hair. What's up, my makeup crew? What's up with my makeup crew? I am here in Cincinnati, Ohio, trying to make it over to the Baltimore, Maryland area. I was planning on going there tomorrow morning, which should be Monday morning. However, man, they're talking about some bad weather. I'm not even sure I'm gonna be able to make that journey. But if the roads are clear, I will make that journey. How you doing, Cameron and Terry? Good morning, sir. Yeah, I'm gonna answer a couple of questions that I commonly get from people, or just questions, random questions I get here and there. So, man, I see a question already from the pro. How's my Volvo wagon? The Volvo wagon is doing fine. However, all this traveling and going from place to place, it gets a little beat up. It wears and breaks like every other 26-year-old car. So there's a couple of things I wanted to do to it. And number one, I wanted to do the headliner. 90% of the headliner is sagging down. I got the material. I was about to start putting that headliner in. However, I just was working too slow. My work day in Albuquerque was a window of about 4 or 5 hours. Then I would get distractions. So I wasn't getting around to doing things. So I just said the heck with it. I unpacked Queen Bee, packed everything in Queen Bee I needed. So I am now on the road with Queen Bee. Now, I don't have all my tools, but I have about 80% of them. So I'm still able to do a lot while I'm on the road. However, I'm getting a little old. I had some x-rays a couple months ago. They said I'm starting to develop arthritis. Man, when it's cold and I crawl down on that cold ground, my arthritis starts getting a little rough. I really would rather not be outside working on anything if the temperature's not 45 degrees. If it's under 45 degrees and it's sunny, it's not bad. I can do a couple of brief things, 30-minute here, 30-minute there, but I have no desire or real need to be out there for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours when it's cold outside. Just not that important to me. So anyway, back to Panther. Panther's getting a shimmy at highway speeds. Maybe an axle, maybe just tires going bad. I don't know. I need to investigate that. Panther needed a couple of minor wiring things done to the gauge. Panther needed the headliner done. And there was one or two other things I wanted to wrap up on Panther before I hit the road. Stuff was taking too long, so I said, I'm just taking Queen Bee. So I normally don't drive at all in bad inclement weather, they call it. So I'm going to clean routes when the roads are open, clean, no delays in traffic. I don't mind driving from point A to point B. I left Albuquerque Thursday, stayed in Oklahoma City Thursday night. I left Oklahoma City around noon Friday. I got to Cincinnati about 1:30, 2 in the morning Saturday morning. And I took care of some things that my daughter wanted me to take care of. She's getting married February 3rd in the middle of this COVID peak strike with a new, more contagious strain coming on. Man, they're telling you wear your mask and you might want to wear two. So my new policy is if I'm in public setting, people I don't know, people walking by me, stuff like that, I wear my mask. And if I see somebody coming toward me, wanting to talk to me, they don't have a mask on for whatever reason, I put on a mask for them too. So I'm going to start wearing two masks half the time I'm out. So anyway, Panther's doing fine. 472,000 miles on it. I've contacted a couple of vendors, asked them participate in a little guessing game I want to play. I'm going to launch this guessing game probably within the next 30 to 45 days. If you can guess what date and what location Panther will be in when it hits 500,000 miles, you'll win a prize or two or something like that. Probably going to have 6 prizes. The top 3 for guessing the closest zip code that the car will be in. I can say cities, but heck, I could be on the east side of Chicago or on the west side of Chicago, and somebody say Chicago, they want to win. So I would recommend people guess the zip codes. So if you guess the zip code that Panther hits its 500,000 miles in, you'll win a prize. Top 3 guesses will get a prize, and then the date. You know, it'll probably be this year the way I move around. And if somebody guesses what date that car will hit 500,000 miles, the closest 3 guesses will get to pick prizes. So far, FCP has replied. They offered a couple of modest gifts. If I got to, I'll add a few in there. Uh, None which will include giving you Panther or Queen Bee. But hey, it'd be fun. Guess around and see Panther, which is the hardest working 850 on the planet, in my opinion. See that car hit 500,000 miles. People always say, "Oh, Robert, you take such good care of your car." It's like I don't see it that way. I'm doing oil changes between 8 and 10,000 miles. I did one at like 12,500 miles. I run the tires down almost until the cord is showing. I haven't replaced all the wheel bearings on it. I went to replace one, the bolt stripped. I backed away from that. It's got a wheel bearing on it with almost 400,000 miles. I try to fix things that are broken, but I don't think that car gets any special care. I put a bigger turbo on it to put more stress on it. I'm towing cars from one side of the country to the other. I'm always loading it down. Man, the car is supposed to be loaded down probably with 600 pounds. I got 1,700 pounds in the car. I don't think that car is being treated with kit gloves. That car is being used, almost abused. So that if my car can make it 500,000 miles, I think all of these cars were built to make it. All of these Volvo 850 brand cars. So fix what's broken, keep oil and coolant in them, and man, they'll run. Let me see if I got any questions here. Go back to the top. How's your wagon? Man, wagon's doing fine. What's up? Hey guys. Hey, good to see you guys. Man, good to see you guys overseas. I know some of these areas probably nighttime. Get ready for bed. You're busy person. Want to meet up with me, man. If you know within a couple of hours to you, man, please contact me. See if we could do a meet and greet in this bad weather. When it's too cold to work, meet and greets are great. How many mice does it take to power a C-130? Oh man, we quit using mice back in the early 70s. So Karen, I don't think we use mice anymore. We're probably using wood pellets or something. So on to my next question. Hey, I'm glad the channel's helping you. Here's a question from Joel. I have a 96, 132,000 miles. It's well cared for, but I need to know what is next for me to watch for. Timing belt replaced at 70. Man, at 132, if those valve stem seals are smoking, causing the car to smoke, consume oil, that almost be the only other thing I'd recommend for white block cars. These 850s, 960s, and all the cars newer than 95. Those valve stem seals get old. Your car starts consuming oil. That oil is going down into the exhaust. That catalytic converter is collecting that oil building up in the cat. It's going to bother performance. It's going to increase the chance of the car burning the valve. And of course, you got to stay on top of oil consumption. You know, whew, these cars don't blow head gaskets when they're not running low on coolant, but valve stem seals are my go-to thing. I say most people need to do that at 25 years, really 20 years, 25 years, or 250,000 miles. If you get around 250,000 miles on them, probably going to burn a valve. But man, those 960s are tough. Other than that, I see those things go a long time. If you don't abuse them or drive on bad roads, your suspension can hold up. Once you start needing shocks or struts, those things are hard to find for those cars. And whatever you do, hopefully you don't need no springs because, man, I have not seen any replacement springs that are good for those 960s. You know, sad to say, the 960 was probably my favorite car of all times. I'm now recommending that people stay away from 960s. Not because they're bad cars, but because they are extremely hard to find good parts for. When you can't find a good part for an old car, it's time to park it or bail. You know, and I'm a true believer that cars are made to be driven. If you don't drive the car 3,000 miles a year, you might as well get rid of it. You know, because you don't need the car. Driving 2,000 miles a year, you can Uber around less than that car will cost you. So 960, man, I had a 960. I sold it, and my last one with about 135 on it. That car was clean as new. I sold it for almost double what Kelly told people they could sell cars for. I put a warranty on the car. I gave the lady a 90-day warranty. She was a little bit concerned with paying a high price. I said, look, I'll warrant the car for 90 days. If you do anything breaks on this car, I will fix it in 90 days. She brought the car back for some emission code that popped, some little uh, air valve thing coming off the air pump. But, you know, that was it. Man, I don't think she could have blown the engine up as long as she didn't change oil. I had full synthetic oil in that thing. If she can drive that thing fast enough to blow the engine without the cops pulling her over, I'd have warranted the engine. I didn't have no fear of that because I drove that car harder than any other. So anyway, that's my take on the 960s. Let's see if there's any other question here. All right, so let me see. Nice to hear. I have a red 850 turbo. Do you have an insulated garage? I do not have a garage, period. I live in an apartment complex. I moved there to help my mother-in-law. I was just across the hall from her. Do not have any kind of insulated garage or anything. There's a couple people that would be glad to let me use their garages, but then I got to travel to it. And if you're asking me to work on your car there, I have to get your car there as well. So, no, I don't. Let's see here. Somebody writing from Turkey. 95 math sensor needed. Unfortunately, I can't find one here. Now, if you are somewhere else on the globe outside of the great USA and you need parts, I am willing to ship parts to you as long as you cover the cost. Can't be my cost. It's your cost. It's your parts you need. I can't supply everybody on the planet with parts. So if you contact me, you pay for the part, I get the part, I'll ship it to you. I'm not real hung up on making profit off of that. However, I'm not in a position to take the loss on it for thousands and thousands of people. So if you want me to ship you a part, send me the money, I get the part, I ship it to you. Now that brings another slight level of complication to this thing. Some of you guys are particular about your parts. Now, trim, lights, this, that, stuff you can't get brand new and you don't want new, you want used. Because a used part is $20 and the new part is $200. And if you had $200 for a new part, you might buy a new car. I don't know. I don't know the reason. But when you get particular about how you want a 25-year-old part to look like, I don't know if I can help you. Somebody wanted a piece of trim that ran from the back hatch all the way up to the back of the back seat. That trim is 2.5 feet long, almost 3 feet long. It's 25-year-old plastic. Man, if you're close enough to it and you sneeze, you're going to crack that piece. Somebody's already thrown something back there. It fell against the trim and it cracked the piece. Little tiny crack, a piece of glue will cover it. No big deal. Not a piece missing. It's just got a little crack. I pull a piece out of the junkyard. I send a picture to somebody. I say, hey, this thing's got this minor little crack. I don't want it. I want my $15 back. Meanwhile, I have taken 2 or 3 hours out of my life going to the junkyard, looking through 4 or 5 cars for the color they needed, pulling apart, almost paying for it at the junkyard. And you don't want it because it's got some 1-inch hairline crack in the corner that nobody will probably ever see. So listen, if you're that particular, find a new part. If you got to go to Mars to find it, I'm all right with that. But please don't contact me. Have me engaged in finding parts. Also, if you want me to help you with parts, have your cash ready, man. Having me go find parts, get parts, you ready to buy a part, Robert, I want today, and then I go to get it, and then you say, oh, I get paid the third Friday of next month. Man, by then, a lightning bolt might have struck the tree 4 blocks from your house, and the tree followed and wipe out the car. Why am I looking for parts for a car that you don't want for 2 months? I got more things to do. So anyway, if you're anywhere on the planet, you want parts, I'm glad to help you. If you want new, you could order the new, have it shipped to me. I'll forward the shipping to you if you cover the shipping. I don't control shipping or custom charges. I shipped somebody a part one day. They paid $50 for the part. I insured the part for $50. It got on their end. Their customs import tax was 100%. So they paid another $50 for that part. I don't know that they were going to have to pay another $50. They wanted me to put $2 on the value instead of $50. I don't know that, so if you don't tell me, I don't know. So anyway, that's how that works. You cover the cost, man. I'm glad to send you anything you want. I don't particularly install parts on my car to test them, because sometimes you take a part off this old car and you put it on yours. Then now you put yours back, yours don't work right. So it's a risk factor when getting used parts. They often have a 30-day warranty. I get them, ship them out to you. They take 2 weeks to get to you. You take 2 weeks to install it. Bam, warranty's gone. So if it don't work, I can send you another one if you pay for it. But if it's a new part, sometimes new parts have a year warranty. I can send you a new part. You got a year to test it out to get it exchanged. Anyway, that's how that works. Thanks for watching from Poland. Thank you for the congratulations on my daughter. Let's see where we are here. I'm getting a few questions. We'll see how this goes here. Congratulations on your daughter. Kuwait. Wow. Thanks for watching. You hit 400,000 in my zip code, Robert. Oh, yeah, I did. Chicagoland. Okay. So I'm going to answer a question while I look for the next question. Somebody asked me today on Instagram if I know of a source where they can buy a nice 850. I don't know of any dealer, person, group, whatever, located anywhere on the planet that is buying 850s, restoring them, and then selling them. I just don't. There's not a source for buying a relatively clean, very mechanically sound 24-year-old car. I mean, who does that? You buy a car that the body is pretty much intact. You might pay $1,000, $2,000 for it if it's running. Then you take that car and make that car mechanically sound. Doing a timing belt, a PCV job, and heater hoses on a car, that's $2,000-3,000 worth of work. That's $500 worth of parts, $600 worth of parts. So now you taking that $2,000 car, now you run it up to another $3,000, $3,000. You're up to $4,500 to $5,000 every time I see an 850 for sale, and they're asking $4,000. The Volvo community in general laughs and makes a big joke out of it. Now, is the car worth $4,000? It was just purchased for $1,500, and somebody put $3,000 into it. If you do the math, yeah, it is worth $4,000. Because if you would have bought it for $1,500 and put $2,500 into it, you'd be $4,000 into it. But no, they want to buy that $4,000 car for $1,700 instead of $1,500 before the maintenance. Nobody is putting themselves at that risk. So people are buying these cars for $500, $1,000, $2,000, and then they're soaking money into them, either DIY repairs or paying mechanic repairs or paying an enthusiast like me to repair. Anyway, at the end of the day, if you're into a car for $4,000, my question is, can you buy any other car in better shape for $4,000? Probably not. If you went and bought a Honda Accord for $4,000, that Honda Accord is going to be 12, 14 years old. And is that Honda Accord going to be in better shape? Is it going to last longer? Is it going to be less trouble than a 24-year-old Volvo with $4,000 in it? Probably not. The Volvo may even be safer, and it may even be more economic to drive because it's already had that money put in. So I don't know. I'm probably counting labor, materials, and my own labor, $50 an hour for me. I'm probably 14,000 into Queen Bee in the first 2 years I had it. Put an engine in it, had the body redone and painted, did all these serviceable things, replaced all this coolant stuff, and just the time I put in doing the suspension and all that stuff. My guesstimation is 10 to 14, probably close to 14.5 in it after the performance upgrades. Newer turbo, bigger turbo, stuff like that. So, that stuff costs money. Could I buy a car for $14,000 that would be a better car for me? Not sure. These 850s are very comfortable. They're pretty economical when it comes to gas mileage and stuff like that. If you drive them reasonably, they're very fun. They're very safe. I don't know if I could buy a better car for $14,000. And it's hard to come up with $14,000 unless you're ready to finance something. So that's where I am on that. Not sure. Okay. People ask me where to buy 850. So you can't, there's nobody supplying well put together 850. You can shop for one and buy. I know a guy that has one for sale. Very good condition. 850R, I believe it's a wagon or a sedan. I don't remember. But you can buy these cars very nice, between $3,000 and $5,000, but there's not a supplier for them. All right, let's see here. Wondering how you would diagnose intermittent long cranking or no start. Only happens occasionally. To troubleshoot is what you're doing, a long cranking issue or a no cranking issue. On these 99 and 2000 cars, 9 times out of 10, it's a fuel pump related thing, especially if you don't have a code. So you can check fuel pressure at the rail, crank the car 2 or 3 seconds, check the fuel pressure again. But these cars should hold fuel pressure really strong for an hour. For some reason, those 2000 V70 cross countries and a couple other these specific models, they lose fuel pressure quick. I mean, like, you crank the car's running, you got 43 psi at the rail, you cut the car off, 5 minutes later, you check the pressure, there's no pressure there. So, probably fuel pump related. I don't think the system has a check valve in there. Some people have put check valves in there. I think the pump is actually supposed to have that check valve system. So, you're probably looking at a pump if the pump hadn't been replaced. But that's the first thing I would do is check fuel pressure at the rail. Second thing I would do is just check your normal things. For instance, if the car is cranking and you're trying to start it and you don't have spark, so check for spark. Check for fuel injector pulse. Is the injectors actually spraying fuel into the cylinders while you're cranking? So the biggest two things for those cars is spark and fuel pressure. I would start there. Some of those cars are losing connectivity through your security items, like your antenna ring, your uh, computers that control the security stuff, and they're cutting spark. You can find that out by checking spark while you're cranking when it doesn't start. And if that's the case, you might need to get some of that stimulus uh, juice to put on your electrical connectors. That'll probably cure it for a couple of years. All right, so '07 Dodge Charger V6 over 200,000 miles is having to crank more than one at the gas pump problem. I have a video called having a problem starting your car after you get gas. That is more than likely a purge valve problem, normally induced by overfueling. What I mean by overfueling, you fill a tank up and then you keep forcing gas in the tank until it's running out on the ground. That is very bad for fuel injected cars. I tell people, really, there's no reason to fill a tank up unless you're traveling across the country, going from state to state, stuff like that. So you fill a tank up. The first time the pump clicks off, I normally round mine to the nearest nickel. So if I'm pumping the gas and the pump cuts off at $48.12, I'll round it up to $48.15. Leave it at that. I'm not trying to pump another 50 cent or 90 cent in the tank. That messes up the vacuum system and ultimately the purge valve. So probably a purge valve problem after pumping gas. Thinking of buying an 850 T5. It has some rust on the trunk and it has a sunroof. How to check the sunroof? How do you think the turbo is going to become a problem? 196,000 kilometers. Man, my first turbo was getting too weak to produce the power that the car was designed to produce at 292,000 miles. I have seen people run these turbos 300,000 miles. If a turbo is treated properly, uh, they'll last 300,000 miles easy. Well, maybe not easy, but they can last 300,000 miles. I've seen some go longer. 250 is probably a magic number. If you abuse one of these turbos, you're probably looking at 150, 200,000 miles. So your classic signs that the turbo is going bad is one, it's not producing the boost that it was designed to produce, no matter what you do. Turbos produce the pressure in the boost system depending on how fast they spin. As a turbo wears out, it can no longer spin fast enough to produce the pounds that it was designed to. Example, your Volvo T5 was designed to produce 9 pounds of boost. When the turbo's new, it could probably produce 17 pounds easy. As it ages and wears out, that 17 drops to 16, to 15, to 14, to 13, to 12, 11, 10. Now it can only produce what it was designed to at full bore. Then as it wears, it starts producing 8, 7. When it gets down around 7 or 6, it'll start smoking. When you're trying to drive away, pulling out into traffic, pushing the car uphill, it's smoking out the tailpipe because it's so worn out now that oil is getting past the seals. And at that point, it needs a rebuild or a replacement. If you wear it out too much, it then smokes like a train all the time. I got a video showing that it's billowing out white smoke and then or gray smoke or the oil getting by it, and then it no longer produces the boost. And then on your P80 cars, which is an 850, the factory intercooler has a weep hole in the front of the car, kind of down under the car on the passenger side of the intercooler. It's got a little round hole. When that turbo gets real bad, oil's leaking out of that when you park. You park the car, you come back 5, 10 minutes later, the oil has drained out of the intercooler from the oil getting into the system, and it's dripping out of that hole. That's when that turbo is too worn out to get rebuilt. So that's how you tell if the turbo, man, these cars are made to last 500,000 miles. I don't have a problem with mileage. As far as the sunroofs, these sunroofs were not built to be sealed. All sunroofs in cars are designed to let a little bit water through. It takes that water and sends it out drains. So these sunroofs are not sealed units, except for the seal on the inner rim of the sunroof. You could tell if the sunroof is bad because when you look at the seal going around the glass, you'll see buckled areas of it, which indicates there's rust building up in the seal, and that'll probably need to be replaced. Very difficult job to replace. I normally just get a sunroof that doesn't have a seal problem, replace the whole sunroof and glass. So, rust, man, these cars really don't rust. They normally rust from abuse. If you got a trunk that's rusted, you could probably get a trunk to replace it. The biggest places to check for rust is under the car where the heat shields are bolted. And I noticed on Panther, there was a couple spots on rust there when I bought the car. So there's a couple of holes under the car where heat shields were bolted. That stuff vibrates and the heat shields falling off. And, those are rust spots where the exhaust mount, those brackets and things rust. Really not a car that produces a lot of rust unless you're in a big rust area. Okay, so what brand of oil do I use? I use Mobil One, which is a full synthetic. I prefer 10W40 because of the age of the engine. However, 1030 is probably the good oil to use in most climates. If you're in an extreme hot climate, like temperatures hit 100, 105 in the summertime, stuff like that, I think 1040 is the better to use. And if your engine has not had the cylinder head rebuilt and your temperatures do not drop below 0 degrees, I think 1040 is good to use to slow down oil leaking past your valve stem seals. So when Panther had old seals in it, and I was concerned with the car smoking, I used 1040 year round. Now I use 1030 and 1040 depending on the climate, and I'm not worried about seals leaking because all the seals in Panther has been replaced recently within the last 50 to 100,000 miles. So all of those seals are less than 5 years old. I use 1030 or 1040. I believe turbo cars should only use full synthetic oil. So there you go there. Hey, Eric from Oklahoma. How are you, sir? Thank you. Checked on the valve stem seals and pray the suspension holds up. All right, so Joel, valve stem seals. Man, if that cylinder head has not been rebuilt, in the last 15 to 20 years, car likely need valve stem seals. Now, is valve stem seals a problem? Only if it clogs up your cat. So at some point, you're going to be losing a quart of oil every 1,000 miles. To me, that's when you need to change those valve stem seals to hopefully save yourself from needing a catalytic converter. Volvo cats are expensive. They're kind of larger than normal cats, hard to find. So I don't think you should wait until you destroy that cat. Replace the valve stem seals, replace a head. Then you got to question: is it worth the $2,000 to put in the car when your car may not be worth that much to the insurance company? Now, to me, when people say, "Hey, should I put five, 10, $15,000 into my Volvo 850?" That's a question you need to ask your insurance company. You know, if somebody comes to an intersection and T-bones your car, how much you going to get? You know, that's the only concern of value that I have when putting money into old cars, regardless of the car. Now, you can probably get with an insurance company and put extra coverage on it to cover your investment. You know, an example would be a collector car specialty insurance company. I think there's one called Heritage or something like that, where people have collectible cars. They don't drive a lot, and they tell them what they want the car coverage for. So if somebody comes to an intersection, T-bones your car, their insurance company gives you $3,000. Your insurance company will give you the other 12,000. You know, but you need to make sure you have that kind of insurance. So valve stem seals, I think everybody should get their cylinder head rebuilt on these white block engines probably every 250,000 miles. Not because the head blown, but because you got valve stem seals leaking. Maybe if you put the miles on a lot quicker, like I am, you don't have to do it every 250,000. You can do it every 15, 20 years. So, but at any rate, when you start consuming oil and your compression is good in your engine, it's more than likely coming out your valve stem seals. All right, so let's go on to Drew. All-wheel drive is not working. Your '06 S60 all-wheel drive is not working. No warning lights, no grinding, no leaking gear oil, the angle gear or something else. Chances are the metal sleeve that is in between the transmission and the angle gear and that axle that comes through there is stripped out. What you can do, you can jack the car up on one side or get the car up in the air some kind of way. You crawl under the car, you grab the shaft that goes from the angle gear back to the viscous coupling, and you try to turn that shaft by hand with the car in park, with the car sitting on all four tires. If you could turn that shaft around, 9 times out of 10, that sleeve that goes between your transmission and your angle gear is stripped out. Most common problem with that. That's my guess. Another 2000 have done all the major stuff on it, like ECM. Why'd you have to do an ECM? PCV, radiator, water pump, timing belt, etc. How much longer do you think it'll last? 260,000 miles. Man, I have no idea. Maybe you meant ETM, but I believe these cars are built to go 500,000 miles. That model, if it's got that 5-speed automatic transmission, the transmission is the weak spot. Keep driving till that transmission goes out. If that transmission goes out, I would bail then. I'm not real big on those transmissions or replacing them. Where you gonna get a good transmission from? You probably put another bad one in. You know, I just don't know. Good morning, Santos. Man, I got one of your sockets. I found it in my box. I could mail it to you, or I could just give it to you when I see you. I think it's a 12, one of those funny shaped ones with those weird teeth on it. So don't let me forget to get that back to you. All right, let's see. When is the next time you're going to be in Pittsburgh, Tori? Man, you probably know if you watch me much, I grew up in Pittsburgh. However, my mom has passed on. My only sibling that lives in Pittsburgh doesn't communicate with me, don't have a need to go to Pittsburgh. My aunt that I used to visit there passed on about 9 months ago. So unless somebody says, "Hey, Robert, stop through Pittsburgh. I need some help with something," I'm not stopping through Pittsburgh. I will go through Pittsburgh probably tomorrow, but won't stop. So if you need me to come to Pittsburgh to help you with something, I'll be glad to. The last guy, some guy in Wilkinsburg, had me come to Pittsburgh, communicate by text every day almost for 3 months. I get to Pittsburgh on schedule. He ghosts me. 12, 14 hours. I'm in the hotel spending money. I spent $150 to go to Pittsburgh. Then he ghosts me, and I said to myself, if he don't get in touch with me by 10 o'clock, I got to check out his hotel. I'm out. He contacts me at 10:30, blames me for what? I don't know. He don't want to pay for me to stay, so I left. This stuff is not that serious to me. I'm trying to help. If I can't help, I will. But no, I don't have any plans to go to Pittsburgh unless somebody says, "Hey, Robert, stop through Pittsburgh. Help me with this." Helps me with expenses. I'm all in, man. But it's got to be warm. I lived in Pittsburgh all my childhood. I left there because it's too cold. It's too cold. It's got to be 45 degrees or better. All right. Robert, I have a 97 V70 starting running lumpy, and the lumbar sound light has come on. Any suggestions? Scan the code, fix the problem. Lumbar sound light is a check engine light. Normally, we call that hunting idles. Idles going up and down. It's normally a PCV, or it's got a sensor bad. A mass airflow sensor is going bad. The O2 sensor is bad, man. Just you got to replace that stuff when it gets old, man. You got to do it if you want it to run smooth. All right, let's see where I'm at here. Man, that's jumped. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to answer much more of these questions. I'm going to cut this off in 15 minutes. So this will be an hour of talking. I'm trying to find the next question. I can answer the questions in other intros on the video. So, hey, I'll answer some more questions here in a little bit. But let me try to figure out where I am here. When I moved this thing, man, it just took off. Pooh. I don't know where the heck it went. Okay, there we go. Message. Somebody deleted the message. S70 with an Asian word in that. Gas shift issues. I don't know. Has shift issues. Would you replace the valve body with a new one, or just, man, you have to call it. You have to get those cars scanned with the Volvo class scanner like Vita. Vita will let you know if that transmission has a valve problem or a sensor problem, and if it's cost effective to replace that sensor with a new one, then replace that sensor. Man, anytime somebody touch a transmission, they want $1,000. I don't even get it. However, if you can verify that somebody has a good transmission that doesn't have any issues, the '05 transmissions are normally good. That's when they got back to good transmissions. You could get a transmission for $700 to $1,000 and pay somebody that much to replace it. You're 2 G's into it. You guys decide if you want to put 2 G's into a '05 S60. If the rest of the car is in relatively good shape, that might be worth doing. If the rest of the car is beat up and on its last leg, you may want to buy a decently running S60 without a transmission problem. I don't really get the sentimental value to cars unless that car has something impactful going on the life. Queen bee, there's a lot of people that uh, encourage me to keep that car. My viewers help pay for some of the restoration on it. Queen Bee's kind of special, and it's got the special color and stuff. It's a limited edition car. But, some of these people, it was their mom's car. If I could tell you how many guys told me that, and they are holding on to these old raggedy P80 cars. I mean, most of them, I see them, I say, man, don't fix this. It's going to cost too much. But it was my mom's car. Okay, here we go. This is a dark hole that you're not going to come out of. Well, it's going to be expensive. They go anyway. So I don't know. You know, I I rather put a transmission in there that's working good than try to patch one up unless it's been scanned by Vita and it's verified that some sensor or some valve body needs cleaned or replaced. That's my deal. Thanks for great video, Robert. Do you know what happened to the nice blue 745 you restored a couple of years ago? Didn't really restore that 745. I got the car up and running back on the road. I made it mechanically sound. A gentleman I donated the car to took the car to Houston. I did hear somebody, probably you, Mr. Reinhardt, tell me that the guy was starting to modify the car a little bit. No, I don't keep track of cars that I let go of. I don't care how nice the car was or how much I liked it. I don't have time to keep track of stuff like that. I don't want to do stuff that upsets me or possibly ticks me off. If I put, that's like the car I rebuilt for my mom. Back about 4 or 5 years ago, probably 5 years ago, one of my viewers in the Boston area decided he appreciated what I was enabling him to do to his 850 so much, he started a GoFundMe page. The GoFundMe page, he asked me could he do it. I reluctantly said go ahead. I didn't want to see his disappointment. I had about 60,000 subscribers at the time. He started like putting out a couple videos trying to get people to show their appreciation for what I do and put it on the GoFundMe page. In like 2 weeks, he only had about $600-700 worth of donations on this GoFundMe page that he had like a $3,000 or $5,000 goal on. It was upsetting to him that so few people was getting involved on this GoFundMe page. So I don't even know how this keep a track of stuff. So anyway, he contacted vendors that I encourage people to use, IPD, FCP, and they promoted the GoFundMe or sent out an email. And of course, the guy knew a little bit about my backstory, how we had health problems in my family. I had to quit working and stumbled into posting videos. Anyway, the GoFundMe took off in a couple days from $700 up to like $9,500. Well, I took a chunk of that money. I bought a V70 all-wheel drive from Buster Brown. It was a 99 model. I put some of that money into that car. In real life terms, if I would have paid a shop to do that stuff, put about $5,500 into the car. I delivered the car to my mom. On my way to deliver the car to my mom, the car was driving so well, I was considering keeping the car and giving her a Panther. So anyway, I dropped the car off to my mom. I had an adventurous journey back to Albuquerque. Long story short, mom takes the car. They hit something. My guess is another vehicle. They claim they hit a deer. I didn't see no deer poop or no deer hair on the car. It just looked like they crashed into the back of somebody's truck. They drove the car home with a busted radiator. What happens when you do that to a white block? You blow the head gasket. Oh no, the head gasket's not blown. So they get some kind of settlement from somewhere. They fix the car's body. gets it painted by some backyard people that paint the car a different color white than it actually was. It was a summer white. They painted it a winter white, or vice versa. Anyway, the car was more cream than white, and they painted it white. Just a few panels that they replaced. Then they realized the head gasket was blown. I told them 16 times not to put that money into the body because the head gasket was blown. They realized that there was this big fight in the family because my mom passed. This person should have got the car. That person should have passed, got the car. Nobody did anything about the estate or the title, but they fighting over this car. Well, the car's been sitting in a lawn ornament at my sister's place, one of my sister's place. Nobody's driving the car because the head's blown. If I would have had any attachment to that car, whether it's a car I rebuilt or a car that my mom drove, I would be upset about that car sitting in my sister's driveway. But that didn't bother me. Can you come fix the car? No, I can't come fix the car because nobody's got a grip on the title. Somebody get the title. I'll be glad to fix the cars for anybody to have. I don't care what y'all do with the car. It ain't mine. I have a good, unique ability to let things go once I give them away. If I give you a car and you destroy it in 3 days, whew, glad you didn't destroy it when it was in my name. I don't care. It's just a car. I just don't. So, no, I don't know what happened to the 740. All right. Choo, 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 choo. Cure, gin and yellow raisins. Interesting. Have you ever swapped out an auto for a manual transmission and a Volvo P2 car? No, I have not. I've taken transmissions out of those cars. I don't think it will be much more complicated, but you do need to get a tune or adjust the computer programming in that car to get that to work properly. An example, I helped. It's still a P80 car, but It's the P2 computer system. That 99 V70R. It ain't really no different than a 2002 car. It's got the same computer logic. There's a company out there called Hilton Tuning. They can teach you how to reprogram your computer in your P2 car to know that it has a manual transmission and not look for that automatic transmission. So yeah, people do it. I haven't done it. I don't think it's a big deal. You just need the trim pieces, the shifter stuff, and the pedals. Just like you would any car converting that car. Okay, thanks for your video. I got my 960 for 500, and you really helped me out with saving money. And I only spent about 250 to get her running again, man. Love those 960s, man. I could tell you stories. I will. I'll post a couple of stories in my Patreon account about my 960 driving experience, man. Them freaking cars are smooth, incredible, awesome. All right, let's see here. Something about 144 horsepower engines. Don't understand that half question. Sputter during first gear takeoff and stop lights and signs. That's usually mass airflow sensor stuff when your car is having problems close to idle or when you're coming out of idle. What's up, buddy? Jared, Roland, North Kentucky. Held for review. Somebody posted some kind of question or comments. Oh, they're whining about mask, whatever, dude. Let me tell you something. I want to make people feel comfortable, help people out. And do I think masks work? I do. If your germs have a problem entering into my body, I'm all in. I'm sorry. Very few people are getting colds this year. Very few people are getting flus this year. That's because they're trying to safeguard themselves from the coronavirus. But hey, if you're, if you don't believe it, don't wear it. That's fine with me. Just stay out of my face. I'm going to keep that goblin head. That's what we're here for. Making a car sputter. Not sure where I'm at with you, Nicholas. What's up, Robert? How difficult is it to change a turbo on a 2004 S80 T5? Blowing white smoke. The turbos on the T5 engines are not extremely difficult to change. If you have problems reaching the back of the car, you could take out the two front subframe bushings. That'll tilt the engine forward and down till you loosen the back subframe bolts to help that tilt a little bit towards you. You could probably bring it out the top. Now, turbos get more difficult when they are part of the exhaust manifold. I'm not sure what models that is, but those T5 engines are the easiest. The T6s are difficult. Some people say that you would rather rip your toenails off than to pull turbos off a T6, those twin turbo cars. Never done it, don't know, but the T5s shouldn't be too bad. Somebody with a S80 2.5 cylinder 2 has zero compression. Suspect it's a valve issue. I would bet all of the money in this pocket that you have a burnt valve. These cars burn valves. It's something that a backyard mechanic can fix, but the cylinder head will have to be removed and you would have to replace the burnt valve. Now, the issue with that vehicle, I believe it has solid lifters, so you would need to send that vehicle in to have a valve job done on that new valve. You could probably get off easy if they agree to only do the one valve that's burnt, but if they decide that, hey, they can't let the cylinder head go without doing all the valves, you're probably looking at a $600 to $800 cylinder head job, and that doesn't include removing it and installing it. That's just refurbishing the cylinder head. On that year of a car, if you pull a cylinder head, I would strongly recommend that all the valves themselves be replaced, which you can do yourself. Clean and lap the valves to get rid of any carbon buildup on the valve. The wire wheel all the valves off, all the carbon off of them, put them back in. Keep the lifters in order, and again, the new valve will have to have a valve adjustment, which is the replacement of that solid lifter to the proper height that will allow that valve to close properly. So it is something you can do yourself. Parts are not that hard to get. You can buy those parts all the time because cars are burning valves. I strongly recommend only using Volvo parts when you are doing those cylinder head jobs. Any job on a Volvo that takes longer than an hour to do, use Volvo parts. These other parts may not last as long, and man, that's too much work to be going back in there a year later to redo it because you put cheap valve stem seals in it. Just don't, So I think you understand that. How difficult is it to change a turbo on a 2004 S80 T5 blowing white smoke? I think we covered that. Shouldn't be hard. Hey, buddy, want to thank you for sharing your knowledge on YouTube, helping me with some issues with V70R. Awesome. Got some used bearings in Chicago for free if you are interested in other goodies. What kind of bearings? You mean wheel bearings? They have to be maybe less than 5 years old, less than 50,000 miles for me to want to install them on my car. I don't know. Bearings are not that expensive. Right now in my life, I am not in as tough as a position as I was 7, 8 years ago. 7, 8 years ago, I would wake up and wonder if I was going to have enough money to pay the rent. The day for rent would come and I wouldn't have the money. And it was a miracle for me to find the money because I wasn't big on banking. Today, with my Patreon, not so much my Patreon, but with my little bit of YouTube income, my odd jobs income, and disability check that we get into the family, I don't have the struggle of not being able to pay the rent. You know, it's not by far, but it's not that close. So would I rather pay $100 for a brand new wheel bearing or put one on there that I don't know where it came from or the use of it? You know, I'd probably buy a new wheel bearing to put on Panther. However, I could use those parts to help other people that's in more need than me. So, yeah, I'd probably look at them and probably take them and find a good use for them. You know, people are going through wheel bearings all the time on these old cars. So, thanks for the offer. All right, definitely check those avenues out. Fuel pumps makes a lot of sense. Okay, thanks for watching in Turkey. Good to know that you guys have some internet liberties. '06 XC70 needs a steering rack. About how long would you expect to spend on that? And any hot tips? I don't understand the question, how much I would spend on the rack or any tips on it. I got a video for replacing the rack on the S70. It's not all-wheel drive. It's a little bit easier. I strongly recommend you getting Volvo quality racks because that's an expensive job to do. You're probably looking at 1,500, 1,700 bucks getting that job done somewhere. You know, if you get it done for 1,500, man, that's great. If you want to dig into it yourself, you got to get yourself a good rack. Keep good, clean fluid topped off in it. You should be fine. You know, racks are kind of random, not really an expectation wear item. So I'm going to shut down the live version of this. Man, I'm glad you guys had a couple questions. I didn't have to answer these on this live feed, but hey, I will come back. I'll keep going until I run out of questions or get tired of it. So let's see here. Hi, do you have experience with P1C70? What are the biggest issues with it? P1C70s, man, most of those cars are convertible. I do not have much experience with them. I've never owned one. Nobody's been crazy enough to beg me to come work on one. Now, I did work on a C30 P1 platform. I did a cylinder head on one, did some coolant lines, thermostats, stuff like that on those cars. You know, the biggest issue is the plastic thermostat housings, I think, and the fact that the front of the car has an AC compressor that hangs a little low. Some of these parking stops can grab those things, cause you to eat up the serpentine belt on it or the fan belt on it. That fan belt gets wrapped around the crank or something, throws timing. Bad situation. So be careful parking them, of course. The coolant reservoir does not have a low coolant light. So you don't know when you're losing coolant unless you overheat the car. Bad situation. Swedish Car Parts has just released a low coolant reservoir light system. You may want to invest in that. It's under 200 bucks. Or figure out some kind of way to know when your coolant get low. On almost any cars, especially these Volvos, it's critical to keep coolant in them, and it's critical to keep oil in them. Good, clean oil, nice level of coolant. These cars could run 500,000 miles, in my opinion. So I say, you know, take care of that. You know, watch your coolant level, keep your oil level good and change. Your oil level will normally stay good until your valve stem seals go bad. So those are the biggest issues. Stay on top of that. You should be fine. Is it difficult to replace a turbo on a 04. I've seen that question like 4 or 5 times already. I think we covered that. Somebody asked a question in another language. I'll have to interpret that, answer that another time. Should I buy a 93 Volvo 850 and do the clutch on it? Man, depends on the cost, you know. If you want an 850, those are great cars. If most of the cars in decent shape, I mean, if you're getting the car cheap, you know, that's your call. If you feel comfortable enough to do a clutch job on it, I say, yeah, I would rather buy a turbo car because they're more fun to drive. But hey, I've driven some manual 850s around that didn't have turbos, and those cars were very fun. There's a guy in Ohio that has one. Man, he's got 700,000 miles on that thing. You know, a non-turbo 850. If it's not worn out otherwise, or you don't mind doing all the required maintenance and repairs on it, I say, yeah, man, you know, I like those 850s, uh, especially with the standard transmission. All right, so somebody pro, the odometer stopped working in my 850. How do fix? How do you fix the odometer? I got a video. If you search the video or go to my channel on how to find videos, Robert DIY, you go to YouTube and you type that in. How to find video Robert DIY, and it'll play a video that shows you how to find a video. So basically, if you type in 850 Volvo odometer Robert DIY and hit search, it'll bring up the videos showing you how to fix the odometer. So you might want to do that, fix those odometers. Uh-oh. Man, we had a jump here. Oh man, trying to scroll through these questions and then it jumps. Let's see here. Man, I'm going along here. All right, here we go. There we go. Somebody's answering the question. Good deal. Thank you. No problem. 100%. Hey, Robert, my V70 T5 is on 265 miles and having a PCV replaced in 1 week time with all new genuine Volvo parts. It's failing the glove test. Glove is being pressurized. I'm being charged 3 hours. 3 hours is low fees for PCV replacement. Assuming it's a P80 car, I don't know what year the car is. You didn't state that. But 3 hours low, make sure they do it all. You know, people going in there half doing it. Also, I had Panther fail a glove test not long ago. Then I realized the car was on an incline. For some reason, if the car is nose up or nose down or something, it'll give different glove test results. Didn't know that. So try to do your glove test when the car is sitting on the flat ground, the engine warm, and the engine, of course, running. You want to do your glove test. So I don't know if that helps. What do you think of the P2R cars? They have expensive suspension. However, the cost of those R suspension parts have come down dramatically. Still labor intensive replacing it, but the cost has come down. People love them, but people hate taking care of them. They rather junk them than fix them. So I don't know, you know. I talk to mechanics that have never replaced a turbo on them because every time they quote somebody every turbo replacement cost on there, the people just junk them, you know. So I think they're great cars if you're willing to put the money in them. You know, you just got to be willing to do it. Will you leave this video up? Yeah, I'll leave the video up probably forever. Got so many questions and answers in here. Let's see. Five, my mom's car. She took care of it the whole time. Cars are meant besides the trans. Okay, that's that trans question. I'm putting in a new 16T turbo with blue injectors. Do I need a tune? I have an 850R. Now, the computer ECUs that are in the 850 cars are what they call smart computers. They do adapt to a certain amount of variation in the system. You put in the 16T and blue injectors, it may not totally adjust to that 16T and blue injectors, but it will probably 80% adjust. I don't think you're in any danger of doing those modifications and not getting the tune. However, if you want to maximize the 16T blue injectors and maybe even get a little more power, you can get a tune for it. There's a couple, very few tune options. I say go with it if the car is not consuming massive amounts of gas. Just leave it. No tune required. People take out the 15 Gs and put 16 Ts in it all the time with the same injectors. So I don't think you need to replace the injectors. So if you start consuming too much oil, go to the white injectors or go back to the injectors that are in the car now, and you should be fine with just swapping 16T. Thanks, Luke, for your question. What is my opinion on P2R cars? I think I touched on that. They are more expensive to repairs. P2 cars in general, cars built from 2001 up to 2000, maybe 7 or something like that, those cars are more computerized. They're more complex to troubleshoot. The computer network system is a little complicated. I'm not real excited about that because it costs your DIY people more for the troubleshooting equipment to fix them. However, those are great cars. They're very comfortable. They run well. They perform well. I'm not against them. I'm just not that excited about them because of the level of complexity that they have for troubleshooting. You know, the suspension is a little more heavy duty. Because of that, it's a little bit harder to replace some of the suspension stuff. But hey, I don't have anything against them. I've just never bought and driven them and did a lot of DIY stuff to them. There are some very good DIY videos on them. A1 Auto has several good videos on them. A couple other Volvo enthusiasts has good videos on them. I don't recommend buying parts from aftermarket places for sensitive sensors and non-Volvo stuff that take you longer than 30 minutes to an hour to replace. But hey, the videos are out there to help you fix them. But the thing is troubleshooting them with that computer stuff. A little complicated. And I've done a few repairs on them. Need a few special tools to do things. But all in all, you get the tool, you pay for the tool once, you can use it over and over again. So if that's your car, man, you're in. But they are very comfortable, pretty reliable cars. They're economic if you can fix them yourself. Man, but those R cars, asking prices on them. I've seen them sell for $1,000 with a bad turbo. I seen a guy gave one away. He offered me the car. I didn't get there to pick it up in time. Gave a P2R away. Was not in bad shape. It needed a turbo, couple other things, but hey, so they're priced as low as $500. Or I've seen them recently priced as high as 20,000 with some modifications and a little bit of exposure with YouTube on them. So yeah, it's each his own, I guess, on that thing. Let me see here. She has a problem with the automatic gearbox, man. I'm not real thrilled about the 5-speed transmissions between 99 and 2003. If you got a transmission problem on one of those cars, you might be better off trying to convert it to manual or bailing on the car. So I think a manual conversion would be a good thing for that, especially if you love to drive. If you love to drive and you convert one of these cars, especially the turbo cars and manual, you will love it every day. All right, let me go to the next one. SOF. Did all the state zero pairs at high revs acceleration. It brakes and it's jerky. Any ideas? South Africa. Man, high revs, it brakes. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe it's losing power. If it's T5, if it's as soon as you hit the gas, you start having issues. It could be a turbo hose collapsing or something like that. If it's just don't have the guts that it should and passing gear on the highway, stuff like that, could be a weak fuel pump. I had a situation where my fuel pump was about to fail. From the time I first noticed the symptoms until the time it actually failed, I have to get off the road. It went about 2,500 miles. So I got a video called Failing Fuel Pump Symptoms. So if you go to YouTube and you type in Failing Fuel Pump Robert DIY, that video will come up. You can watch that video and see if your car has more than one of those symptoms. Could be the fuel pump. Other than that, you have to do the check engine light system, fix whatever code you come up with. Could also be a clogged catalytic converter, something like that. So thanks for your question. Do 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 do. Boo. What car would I hypothetically swap Panther for? Lamborghini or something like that, for example. Okay. Now, somebody already hit the dang lotto. I don't know who did it. They have not contacted me to give me my cut. However, if I get 10% of that, oh man, there is so many nice new cars out there. Do I think they're better than Panther? Not really, but there are some very nice cars out there. I like luxury cars. I like cars with some performance. I like cars that are comfortable, not only for me, but for my passenger. Man, I would probably go for a upper end Lexus. I've driven some of those upper end Lexuses, man. Them freaking cars are nice. They're fast, they're smooth, they're quiet. I just wouldn't be able to throw a transmission in the back. I don't know. I might go for a T6 or T8 Volvo, like a V90, Polestar edition or something. That would probably be a real nice car. They even got features in there so when I fall asleep, Diane doesn't have to wake me up. Right now when I'm on the highway and I doze off, Diane's always nudging me. I can't get long naps on the road. So those cars, they get that electronic navigation system in there, man. You can go to sleep. Get where you want to go. Nice, smooth ride. Probably do something like that. I don't think I'd get a Lamborghini or something because, those cars are targets for the police. Man, I have blown by the cops at some speeds that I know they would have just took my license and the title. You in a Lamborghini, they're going to do it without question. You in a Volvo 960, they look at there, they tapping on the thing. Is this thing working? Tap, tap, tap. I know that Volvo wasn't doing that. So probably something wouldn't be as big of a deal for, police or something. Be something comfortable. Me and three other people will get in. So, I know Lamborghini or Porsche makes four-seaters. I don't know. I'd probably be more on a luxury scale, big Benz, big Lexus, big Volvo, something like that. Thanks for watching. All right. Have you used, oh man, did it jump on me again? Dang it. Crap. I think it jumped. I was trying to read somebody's question and it jumped. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Ah, there it is. Frank S. Hi, Robert. Have you used a plastic rear main seal tool several times? Okay, you've seen me using my rear main seal tool. That is a Volvo tool. Uh, I don't know if you can get that tool. I bought that tool from a retired or Volvo mechanic that resigned. I bought that tool, valve stem seal tool, and another, that Volvo scanner I have, that uh, VS Volvo scanner tool thing I have. I bought several of those tools at the same time from that mechanic. I don't know where you can get it from. Somebody led me to it. So, yeah, that rear main seal tool. If I was having a rear main seal put in, I would be hesitant to do it without that tool. If I had to do it without it, like I have in the past, I'd lubricate that shaft really good, get that as slippery as I can with some slick grease. I tap it in with the old seal. I try to make sure, and that's a 70% chance that you're going to be successful doing that. I'd probably tow the car to a Volvo mechanic, tell him to install a seal, and then tow the car back home. I'd spend that $150 on tows and seal install before I do that thing myself. Or I'd take the engine to put the seal in, bring it back. They probably charge you $50 to tap that seal in. That's kind of a sticky thing, man. Even with that seal tool, I don't think it has the lip that the cam seal tool has. Man, you just gotta, it hits it just right. So I guess it's okay. I hadn't had any problems with it leaking. It's a Volvo tool, man. 236,000 miles on the original front shocks. Yeah, it's probably time to swap those shocks out. I'd get the Sachs shocks. Those are, I think, what Volvo had make the shocks for them, or Bilsteins, and there's some other shocks. I got a shock video that recommends what line of recommendations I do for those shocks and struts. But yeah, couple 100,000 miles on a pair of shocks. These Volvo shocks, they typically get harder as they go bad. They don't get softer. So I think you can do the shocks like that. Yeah, might want to replace them, especially if small bumps are feeling like hard bumps. They get harsher. Queen Bee's probably got 20, 30,000 miles on the shocks I put on it. I put Black Bilsteins, uh, which is a touring shock, and it's real comfortable and quiet, hitting all these imperfections in the road, I call them. You don't normally hit as many bumps as you do imperfections in the road. Cracks, little bumps, things. Albuquerque is full of them. Now, Panther has the stiff suspension, the Bilstein B6s, the high performance ones. As awesome as those are, those little imperfections in the road are transmitted into the car as a bump. Whereas in Queen Bee and the Sachs or the Bilstein touring shocks, I don't feel that stuff in there. I might hear a little bit depending on the tire, but I don't feel it. So that's where I'm at on that. Need a new clutch, T5M. Can I get away without changing the dual mass flywheel? Man, I don't know what the life expectancy is of those dual mass flywheels. And I don't think those things come apart that often. But in a T5M, you may want to consider changing to a single mass flywheel. I think there's this single mass flywheel you could get from Viva Performance or somewhere and go with that. But that's a big job to be going in there because you didn't replace something. I would hope those things would last 300,000 miles. So at 190,000 kilometers, if the flywheel's not eating up, try to use it again. I would probably go with it again. That's 120,000 miles. That thing should be good for at least 250. So I would probably go with it as long as it's not damaged. Sorry about the confusion. Steering rack, '06 steering rack question. Wanted to get an idea of how big of a job it was. It's probably anytime you got to drop that subframe, I consider that a level 5 job. You need big tools, you need alignments afterwards, stuff like that. Um, it's doable, but it is a big job. So just take your time. Make sure you got a day or two to do it. You may work faster than me. You can do it in 4 or 5 hours, but it's you got to take that. The video I got on the S70 should be almost equivalent to that job. So you can watch that and decide from there. Favorite. What's my favorite YouTube channel to watch? My channel. That's the channel I like watching. No, actually, I find myself watching some engineering explained. I go there to try to learn things about engineering when I got time. I watch a few comedians. I like to laugh. There's a car wizard guy and another mechanic guy that I watch. Um, when I want to see how offbeat some people are getting, I watch some Chris Fix because he's got a pleasant presentation, and sometimes I'll learn a couple of things from Chris Fix. There's another guy called Old School Funk. He used to do car mechanic stuff. Now he's only preaching. So maybe that's what I'll do. I got up my viewership to 170,000 subscribers, close to that. I got about 700 daily viewers. Maybe I could start a Volvo cult or something, start preaching my Volvo mechanics or you're going to die type of thing. I don't know. Just being silly. But, I don't watch a lot of YouTube stuff because I'm busy. I just am. But I've watched probably more engineering explained than anything else. And some comedy stuff. Comedy. So that's probably it. I watch some of my videos to see if they need to be refined because of some of the questions I get here, and I'm like, is this video not good enough? And I say, yeah, that video was good enough. I leave it alone. But I'm trying to fine tune some of my videos. That's why you'll see remix videos where I've updated them or fine tuned them with tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. People that watch daily, I try to put things I learned in there because I don't like removing a video and totally remixing it. That's time consuming, even though I do it occasionally. But because of my method of budgeting and jacking around with money, my income is not that great. I would consider myself poverty level income. So if I got a video that's making me $30 or $40 a month, do I want to mess with that video and jeopardize that video not getting as many views as it's getting now? If it's got something in there that's harmful, I immediately take it down. But if I can make it a little better, sometime I'll take that chance, whether I lose the viewership on it or not. So yeah, watch my own videos more than other people's. I do try to learn from other people's videos. Normally if I'm doing a job I've never done before, like on a P2 car, I'll search videos, and there's another Volvo guy that does P2 stuff. And then there's a A1 Auto. They have really good videos on procedures on doing some of this stuff. So I may watch one of their videos. Hope that answered your question. How much do you think the turbo assembly would cost for an 04 T5? Man, Volvo sells turbos $900. For $900, you can get a better, more up-to-date rebuilt turbo, like these turbos I've been getting from A1 Turbo Industries, Tony. So if you want to go back with something that's already there, some people are even buying eBay turbos for $300 or $400, between $250 and $400. Now, I don't have the confidence that a eBay turbo will last you 200,000 miles like a Volvo turbo can. But hey, if you take care of it and it happens to be one of their good ones, you got like a 60% chance you're going to get a good one. And that good one may last, you know, 200,000 miles if you take care of it properly. My guess would be your average turbo from eBay would last 100,000 miles. If you don't plan on keeping the car that long, slap one of those in there and hopefully it'll last you 50,000 miles. The big thing is taking care of your turbo. When you first start the car, you're not revving the engine. You're driving it till coolant temp is good. Then you can drive it as hard as you want. And then if you've been driving it hard, oil temp is high. You want to let that turbo cool down before you turn it off. And of course, you want to use full synthetic oil and change the oil before it's totally depleted of its additives. You can verify that through Blackstone Labs or some other oil lab company that know that you're changing your oil in time. But most of you are. Most of you can drain the oil out of your car and send it to me. Because you're changing oil 3,000 and 5,000 miles, in my opinion, it has another 5,000 to go. Then I would never have to buy oil if you just sent me your depleted oil. I'm okay with that. So, yeah, your average turbo rebuild is probably 350 bucks. So some places already have them rebuilt. You can order one from them and then send them back your core. It costs you 350 for a good turbo replacement. Unless you want to up your performance on a hybrid turbo. Um, Turbo upgrade V70R replace. Yeah, people get hybrid turbos built for their V70Rs. You can go up. I went up on Queen Bee to an 18T hybrid. I went up on Panther to a 19T hybrid. But if you're going to replace a turbo with a larger one and a hybrid one, you do want to buy a tune to offset and gain the performance that you get from that turbo. Man, half of the cars on the road right now are performing as well as our T5 cars were 20 years ago. So really, to get a hybrid turbo or to get your car tuned is bringing it up to today's standards, maybe exceeding 80% of the performance of cars on the road. But you're by no means making this no race car, man. They got some cars on the road now that, man, will make you feel like your foot slipped off the gas. I was in Queen Bee one time. It may have been my other yellow car, Precious. And some guy was in a Jeep. He floored that Jeep. That Jeep took off. And I thought my foot slipped off the gas. That car took off so fast. It was like a 2016 Jeep. That thing was fast. And to do modifications or performance mods to your car, maybe just bring it up to today's standard. I feel like that about suspension stuff too. So some people call it modded. I call it bring it up to today's standard. My deal is a lot of people look at these older Volvos as cars that will slow down their life. They see this old Volvo coming and they be like, oh my gosh, I can't let this car get in front of me because it will slow my life down. I won't be able to live with myself. So they pull out right in front of you because they think your car is slow. And then, people engaging in this kind of road rage stuff, I'd rather just have the power, boom, hit the gas, boom, jump out, start leaving them people. Then it clears up the fog in their mind that they can bother me with that stuff. It's just, I don't know why people, it's just the way they are, I guess. They just want to engage in road rage, cause people's life to be uncomfortable. I had a guy riding in the fast lane on the way here to Cincinnati, 5 miles. He won't pass the car next to him. I flash him a couple times, then he starts brake checking, then he gets behind me, high beams. Dude, just get out of the way. They got signs on the road. Do not impede the left lane. This is a problem. don't be pissing people off with that, but they do it. That's kind of people they are. All right. Yes, it's possible to upgrade your turbo in any car, usually. Aren't leaking if you don't push the car down. So without me bouncing. All right, like again, somebody's talking about these suspension. Some of these Volvo shocks get stiffer when they go bad. They don't get bouncy. So that could be misleading. The key is it comfortable going over bumps or does it feel harsh going over bumps? So, you are welcome with watching the videos. It jumped again. It jumped to the end. All right, let's try to get up here. All right, I think I'm back where I should be. Get you a GX460 and put transmission in the back all day. If you want a lot of money, I would go ahead and buy a Volvo 262 coupe. I used to own a Volvo 262 Birdtown. It was fun. It had the 6-cylinder in there. I think I'd rather have the 4-cylinder turbo, but yeah, I've had one of those. It was a fun car. Little cramped in the back, but not too bad. You know, I love that flat top roof, man. People used to come over there and check that car out all the time. All right, so something about a 960, $13,000. Don't understand that. Robert, having issues with low fuel pressure when the engine is warm during start. I give it a quick pump with the gas pedal, then it starts. I don't know what kind of car you're talking about, nothing like that. S.J. Morales, I had to rephrase that question so I can understand. Somebody's doing their C30 head gasket because of a video. Great. Make sure you get a low coolant sensor in there afterwards. So hopefully you'll never have to do that cylinder head again. Oh, I know when to drop the subframe and replace the whole thing. Somebody's got subframe bushings gone bad in their sway bar. I don't know what to tell you, man. Get you an IPD bar, replace the whole thing. That's the only thing I could recommend. Other than that, it's going to be noisy. You can take the bar out and drive around with no anti-sway bar. I've seen people do that. Have a black T5R sedan. I believe its head gasket is compromised. Leaking heater core and radiator replacement. Blackstone confirmed some coolant in the oil. Should I repair the gasket inside? Absolutely. Driving around with a blown head gasket is just going to lead to worse things. And if you're getting coolant mixing in your oil, man, you may want to replace the engine because coolant is not a lubricant for engine parts. Anytime I get a car that has coolant and oil mix, I just replace the whole engine. I don't want nothing to do with the possible wear with the crank bearings and things like that, or the turbo sucking in coolant on the oil ports. I just get rid of the whole engine. I like second generations S&V 40s. Now, I don't own one, but I do like them. They're pretty nice cars. 2001 V70 T5 5-speed transmission fluid has been changed a few times before. Last time 100,000 miles ago. Shift's okay. Fluid is red. Should I do a drain and fill? And if the fluid is nice and red, you may want to leave it alone. But I'm always a believer in keeping that oil fresh, so I would probably replace it if it were mine. Drain and fills on that thing. Yeah, coolant can get in the oil through the radiator. So if you're not having, somebody asked about the a breached head gasket. My test for blown head gaskets or bad breech head gaskets is to warm the car up, drive it around 5-10 minutes, park it on the level surface, and then try to get that reservoir cap off. Nice, easy, open, close, let a little bit of pressure build off, then take that cap off. If you can't get that cap off without uh, that coolant in the reservoir coming out like a volcano, you probably have a breech head gasket. If you're just getting coolant in your oil somehow, it could be a bad radiator, like somebody said. Thanks for pointing that out. Uh, that side of the radiator in the oil cooler can be damaged. You could probably take that oil cooler off, like I've deleted it, and see if you start losing coolant through that open oil line where the radiator was. And if you got coolant leaking out of the oil cooler line connections, yeah, you probably got a bad radiator. Tori, I drove Panther. Nice. Evap hoses hardware per your video still have gas on more than 10 minutes of operation. What to do? Cindy Will P, I don't understand that question. And hardware per your video still have gas, maybe smell, and more than 10 minutes of operation. Please rephrase your question. I don't understand that. When are you going to be in Arizona? I'm about to do a manual swap on my T5R. Could use your help. Man, if you want me to come to Arizona and help you with a T5R swap, just send me a private message. Invite me down. Let me know how I can help you with that, and I'll probably just come on down there. I'm all in on manual swaps, man. I think that's the number one thing you can do to your car. If you want help with that, you can help cover some of my travel expenses, but not. I'd love to come help you. So, Austin, the YouTube comments is almost impossible for me to find these things later. Send me, call me, text me is a better thing to do on that. All right, let's see here. Oops, had another jump. Gosh dang it. I was arrowing down and it hit a thing and it went all the way down to the bottom. Here we go. Tom, 98, 2.5, 10 valve S70 has a lifter tick issue on startup. She quiets, but as the engine warms up, it becomes louder. Normally, it's the other way around. I've changed the oil pan gaskets. Wow. If you've changed the oil pan gaskets and you are comfortable that you did not damage one of the gaskets when it went up, you have good oil pressure, I would replace the lifters. Sometimes those lifters go bad. Could be any number of reasons. Something got clogged, something got in there, I don't know. But if you got lifter tick, the first thing I normally do is change the lifters. Second thing I normally do is the oil pan gasket. So I would try to check oil pressure or look in the cap, see if there's froth in the oil. If there's no froth in the oil, you probably just got a bad lifter too. I've never really been a big fan of doing oil pan gaskets. That's a rare thing to go bad. Was any of those gaskets bad when you replaced it, or did they look fine? I don't know. So you may have to pull the cam cover, replace those hydraulic lifters. Okay, if you smell gas after you start your car, you have some kind of vacuum line breach, or your charcoal canister is not working or something like that. I would recommend you take your car to a mechanic and have them smoke test it, where they pump smoke in near the gas filler. They pressurize all those vacuum lines and they find the leak. There's a leak somewhere. So you got to find that leak in the vacuum system, or could be a gas leak somewhere. find that leak, get that fixed. You should not be smelling gas. No day. Hi, Robert. How long do you think this hydraulic lifter's change take? Just approximately. Takes an hour and a half to get the cam cover off. Probably got to take the timing belt loose. You got to take the timing belt loose. Oh man, I just did one in Chicago. I say 6 hours. I've had mechanics say they could do it in 3, but when you pull that cam cover off, you got to clean the top of the head surface. You got to clean the bottom of the cam cover. That's 2 hours right there. So you got 6 hours probably is average time for your average do-it-yourself guy. I may make a standalone video for that. I haven't yet, but if it's hydraulic lifters, I'd say 6 hours. Living in Cincinnati, could use a mechanic. Been watching your videos for some time, man. Call or text me, man. I'll help you if we have time in a warm facility. Watching your years, I fell in love with cross country. On how crazy these interiors is. Like buttons. Can't stand the new touchscreens. Yeah, I like buttons too, man. Oh, something's going on here. Gotta find where I was. I'm getting close to the end of these questions, which is cool. Thanks for the info. Beers on March. NA, when the engine is warm, it starts hard. I thought it was the fuel pressure issue because when I press the gas pedal for it just is fine. It's probably electrical. Normally, starting issues, whether cold or hot, is normally connected to your ECT sensor, which is your temp sensor at your thermostat. So that's probably your problem, cold starts or warm starts. I'm getting ready to do a video to explain all that stuff to people. So stay tuned. Hopefully, I'll make that video explaining all the symptoms and stuff. I already got a video on how to replace it, just not on all the symptoms because I've learned more symptoms of that. Dismiss. Supposed to be going to Baltimore. Let's just put some miles on it, man. Oh, man. Yeah, you got to figure out that brake light thing, man. That's dangerous. John. Am I familiar with VWs? Not really. Let me see what this question is. Jetted in specific, I'm having a problem with this thing. Literally haven't met one person that can help. Well, I don't know what the problem is. Scan it for codes, follow the codes. Hopefully that'll get you fixed. Have you seen FCP's rules? I have not seen FCP's 850 project series. I did find out about it about a week ago. Somebody mentioned that they were doing some NA project, something other. I don't know why people try to make NA cars fast unless they're trying to enter some kind of racing circuit that prohibits turbos. But no, I haven't seen that series. Do, 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 do. Could you head me in the right direction for roller and the sealant needed when you split the valve cover from the head? Man, I got a cylinder head installation video that tells you exactly what I use. A lot of people like the Volvo sealant. I use the sealant that Permatex has. Some people like Loctite anaerobic sealant. You just want anaerobic sealant. You could get a miniature roller and plastic pan assembly from Walmart or anywhere for, $3 or $4 or any hardware store in their paint supply section. That stuff is painted on real thin, no big deal. The hard part is cleaning those surfaces. I use a razor at a 90 degree, scraping that stuff off, wire brush, acetone. But some people use these rotary disc with the little finger things on them. You know, just be careful cleaning those cam covers and take your time. You know, yeah, and my video shows you coverage reinstall. Just take your time. Almost 10 years now. Overboosting when the weather is warm. Man, I don't know. I don't know what you consider overboosting. You know, is it peaking, coming down, or is it just holding 15, 20 pounds? I don't know. I don't even know what kind of car you got. So you have to clarify that one. I think I see it down a couple more spots. I don't know on a 99 Volvo what a P1054 code is for. You really need to scan that car with Vita and follow the Vita instructions. If that car is newer than 98, it's got an ETM, you need Vita to do that stuff. What's your opinion on Evans waterless coolant? I've put it in my, was it S60? 96 P80 seems to work well. I don't know what waterless coolant is. That didn't make sense to me. I just put in the coolant they recommend, and I got almost 500,000 miles on it. I don't know what else to say. T5M, new vacuum lines, new turbo control. Tried an IPD one too. Tried with two different boost gauges, same results. If the weather is cold below, the boost is stable and solid at 10 psi. Well, what's overboosting? If it's getting 12 pounds, I probably wouldn't consider that overboosting. I'd be glad with that. If it's going up to 17 pounds, then you got a problem. I don't know, you know. You bugged out when answering my last questions about reinstalling the cams. You don't need a special tool. If you watch the video of installing the cylinder head, it shows you what I do when I install the cams. No special tools needed. You can get special tools, but you don't have to have special tools. Before you put your cam cover on, make sure your crank is on the mark. That's the biggest thing with that. Secondary airflow code. Yet my ABS light is on and my traction light, but the ABS and traction light goes on and off. If you have ABS issues with ABS lights or track light, replace your ABS module with one that is guaranteed to be good. You know, that could be two different issues about a secondary airflow. It has nothing to do with ABS. So fix those two different problems. And if you got some flow code, you could have a bad purge valve. You could have a crack in some vacuum line. You may have to get the car smoked to sort that out. Done that drives fine, just odd after everything I've changed. And then again, I'm not sure what you consider bad or high on this overboosting. So I don't know what it's boosting to. Is it boosting to 12 psi or 18? I don't know. All right, Gary, I think let me read that again. Phoned you a while, helped me several times. I have a garage to do all that are getting done to this, which says secondary airflow. Like again, that secondary airflow, get your system pressure smoked or tested to figure out what's going on with that, or get a Volvo Vita system scanned. Go to a Volvo mechanic, have that scanned, get that narrowed down properly. Always done that, drives fine, just all that got changed. A bunch for your time, Robert. Cleared up a lot of questions for me. 15 psi. Yeah, I would say that's a little on the high side. Depending on the car, it could have an altitude sensor in the ECU that's going bad. Maybe temperature is affecting that. Or maybe you got a wastegate that's going bad, that's getting jammed, and I don't know why that would be temperature sensitive, but you know, I don't know if you want to try a different ECU or not to figure out why that's boost is jumping up to 15 psi. That's not real good, especially if it's coming in too soon on you. So, man, I'd have to say it could be something in the ECU. 4 years not driven at all. Turns over but won't start. Top suspects. If you got a car that's been sitting for several years, probably with gas in the tank, more than likely the fuel pump's been eaten up by bad gas. So my guess would be a gas supply issue. You could check to see if you have fuel pressure at the rail, but I have a video called Why Won't My Car Start? Robert DIY. You search that in YouTube. Your car needs 5 things to start. It needs fuel pressure and fuel supply. It needs compression. It needs air. It needs timing. And it needs spark. So you got to troubleshoot those 5 things. See what's missing so you'll know why the car is not starting. Chances are it's got a bad fuel pump. All right. Not sure what we're talking about, Rochelle, but thanks for your comment. I'm doing pretty good, Paul. Thank you. Little cold out here in Cincinnati, so I'm inside, not making many videos because it's cold out, and traveling eats into video making time, so that's where I'm at. Yeah, barometric pressure sensor might be something, but that should scan. The wastegate, I agree with you. Can't see why it wouldn't be the weather dependent. 15 psi peaks, 2,500 RPMs. Ooh, yeah. I think that's too low for 15 psi. Shouldn't see 15 psi until you're over 3,500 RPM. So you could potentially bend a rod running 15 psi at 2,500 RPMs. I would not be comfortable with that. So get that ECU checked out. I think it has a sensor or two in there, altitude sensor or some kind of sensor in there that could be causing you problems. Drive on it. They have crazy setup. What do you think about those engines long run? Man, I don't have any experience with the 2.3 engines. I have not heard anything bad about them. They should be good for 400,000 miles, kind of easy. You know, yeah, they have pulley issues with the alternators. Everybody's got to do water pump stuff like that, but that engine, man, should go a long time, 400,000 miles. You know. Thank you, Paul, for your input with your T5 manual. Uh, Man, people are asking me to come to the West Coast. I don't have any problem with coming back out there. IPD garage sale, I don't know. It's kind of an odd time of year. I'm normally out east during late April, May. So I may try to come out there. So anyway, man, we're right about at the 2 hour mark. A nice Sunday afternoon. It's, man, is it 12 or 1 o'clock? Man, it's 2 o'clock. I'm going to probably get at the rest of my day, mail a couple things out people requested from me. And I appreciate everybody tuning in. I hope you all enjoyed the video. And until next time, be safe and have a great day.